Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Top of the List. I'm your host, Dom, here with my co-host, RB.
What's up, guys?
And we were coming just a little bit later than the release of our first episode, just a day after the release of our second episode of Loki. And the reason is because Ryan just got back from vacation. And I just want to know, let our fans know, Ryan, where'd you go, what'd you do, and how did it go?
Yeah, so as we told the fans a few weeks ago, my girlfriend Caitlin is now my fiance Caitlin. So we were celebrating our engagement and went to Orlando to see Disney World, Universal. Surprised we ended up making it to SeaWorld as well, but had a great time. Really warm in Florida, really warm here in California too, but different kind of warm. But yeah, had an awesome time. Universal is really like a moviegoer's paradise. It's really, really impressive. Very different from the one in California. Not as much, focused on like the movie studios as much as just themed big rides to the movies, but it's really cool. And then Disney, I'm a Disney-holic, and just what they've done with the Disney World parks, mind-blowing. And of course, capped our last day. We got to go on Rise of the Resistance and the new Star Wars land there. It was incredible. And yeah, really can't wait to get back to Orlando. But also excited to be back here on Top of the List discussing Loki, really exciting show.
And shout out to the people watching on YouTube. Ryan got me a really cool Deathly Hallows, what is this, keychain? Keychain, yeah. And it's really cool. I love everything Harry Potter. Maybe one day we'll release our Harry Potter ranked video.
Yes. That Deathly Hallows keychain was bought in Nocturne Alley.
Nocturne Alley.
They have their own Nocturne Alley. It's really cool. And we went to Borgen and Bergs, and that's where we bought that. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, bringing back Harry Potter memories.
Yes.
Now I want to watch the movies. All right, but we do need to discuss the MCU's newest installment, the third MCU TV series, Loki.
Yes.
And I'm going to start off here with my score.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and say this is the best one yet.
Yeah.
I think that we were assuming so, although WandaVision was still great.
I think you and I went back and forth when we did our Disney D23 release episode.
Yeah.
We talked about how, Falcon and Winter Soldier looked good, but we went back and forth on which we were looking more forward to, WandaVision or Loki. But I agree with you. The way they started it here, I think this is going to be the best, head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, totally. And I'm just going to lead it off with my scores. We're doing episodes 1 and 2. For me, I am having a hard time picking which one was better.
Okay.
So I'm going to give both of these episodes a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
I think they're both amazing television, but they're amazing for two different reasons. Episode number one, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 just because of the sheer impressiveness, if that's a word, of the character arc of Loki. They caught us completely up to not quite where he was around after Ragnarok, but also it caught everyone up as to maybe you hadn't seen the films. You were able to still see, okay, where had he been? What happened after? What hasn't this version experienced yet? And they did, it was really, really done well.
Absolutely.
And they didn't, it felt like they could have wasted time there, but they did a good job.
I think we've talked about this a lot in a lot of the shows we watch on, explaining a story too much with just the flashback sequence. And I really loved how they did it in this episode because, and I'll give my score for episode 1. I'm giving episode 1 a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
I could not find one flaw with this episode. I loved how the storytelling intertwined with the introduction to the TVA. I love what they're doing with the TVA. I love what they're doing with it visually. I love what the idea behind it. I love how they're executing it. I love Owen Wilson as Agent Mobius.
So great.
Miss Minutes. Yeah. I can't say enough about this episode. 10 out of 10 for me.
Awesome. Yeah. And then, for the second one for me, a little bit different, it wasn't that much of let's catch up Loki. And, it wasn't like we started off with villain in episode 1, we started off with villain Loki.
Yeah.
And then by the end, they broke him down and he was more of a anti-hero, just, they broke him down and made him more human.
Because this is Loki, if you recall, that has not experienced being a hero in Ragnarok, which he truly was. And then later on into Infinity War.
At the beginning of Infinity War, he
dies.
Sacrifices himself.
So this is not that Loki. This is Loki who has just been captured by the Avengers at the end of the first Avengers film.
Yeah, and then we get to episode 2, and they go completely different style here. Still thematically the same, but the different style is it becomes a buddy cop detective story.
Yeah.
And I thought it was also amazing. It's also a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
And there's a big twist, and that's the main difference here. I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10 because the big twist at the end.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. I'm going to give the second episode, and you guys have heard me say it from the time we started this show. I had a big pacing issue with the second episode. I felt like there were a lot of really slow parts, especially, the looking through different, the paperwork scenes, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
In every buddy cop film, we want to see the buddy cops go out and solve mysteries and kick butt. And we don't care about the paperwork they have to do. And this episode there were some heavy paperwork, research heavy scenes. But that means, go ahead.
Yeah, that paperwork scene I thought was pretty crucially character.
Without a doubt, it was just a little slow for my taste compared to episode 1.
Like they hit the brakes a little there.
Yeah. So
okay,
I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Still a great episode without a doubt. The ending, the final 10, 15 minutes of this episode, incredible. Yeah. But yeah, just a little tick below. I mean, like I said, that first episode to me was a perfect episode of television.
So the question I have for you then, you're saying it's perfect episode of television. Does that mean it's the best MCU TV episode you've seen thus far? Even better than some of the ones in WandaVision?
Yeah, I would have to go with that for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I liked WandaVision, and I think I gave it like an 8.5 out of 10 overall as a show. But I would say most of the episodes were pretty consistent with that. There was maybe a 9 or a 9.5 here or there, but there were also, slower episodes. This one has definitely been the best TV show. I have been very vocal about how I despise how the MCU has decided to go with these series. Yeah. This is the first one where I'm like, okay, they've figured out what they're doing.
Yeah, this one seems like they know what they're doing. And I think it's all thanks to the showrunner in this one. Each show has a different showrunner. And I feel like the showrunner in WandaVision did a decent job and then just kind of let us down a little bit there towards the end. We were kind of mixed on that finale, you and I.
Yep.
And then, of course, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just throughout it, we were both kind of conflicting, just really couldn't find any focus.
Right.
And this one, it seems like, okay, there's a style here. There's a theme, there's all kinds of pizzazz on whatever. I can't think of any word.
No, that's a good word. Yeah.
But it just feels like, this is focused. They know what we're doing here. And and that kind of just leads me into our spoiler section. We got to talk a little bit more about details.
Yep.
So Yep. So our scores, 9 for me for both, and
10 and 8. So
10 and 8 for you.
And nets out so far 9 out of 10 for both of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So let's start off here with episode 1. Yep. And in episode 1, there's a lot of stuff. First of all, I want to lead off with a theory.
Yeah.
I think that we could talk, minute by minute, but I want to get into my theory.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to know. I'm really interested to know what you think, if I'm right or wrong here. So to me, the biggest scene, besides all of Tom Hiddleston's fantastic acting, was the cartoon sequence.
Yes.
With Miss Minute. And we
learned
everything about the timekeepers and the TVA. And my theory here is, and it's further reinforced in the episode later when we see that Infinity Stones are paperweights.
Yeah.
I think the timekeepers invented the Infinity Stones. And they show it in the cartoon sequence there. They show the timekeepers kind of creating that time stream, the big stream. It's very similar to the time stream we got to see in Endgame. Do you remember the scene with the ancient one, what's her name, Tilda Swinton?
Yeah.
And she's showing Bruce Banner, if you remove one of the Infinity Stones, it branches off. And to me, that was a callback to that scene in Endgame.
Yeah.
And I rewatched it and I looked in the cartoon, and if you look closely, when they form the time stream, like the little cartoon timekeepers, they go and they lift their hands up and they form it. Each of the infinity colors comes out of their fingertips and then molds into the time stream.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That makes sense. Yeah. So you're saying they invented the Infinity Stones to keep the timeline in order?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got
it. I think that's what's going on. And that's why they had so many time stones in, he says they're using them as paperweights.
Yeah.
That's because these branches in time have to do with Infinity Stones. Maybe, Loki misuses the Tesseract, or someone gets a hold of the Mind Stone,
right?
Whatever.
Right. Okay.
So I think that's
that could absolutely make sense. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea indeed. But no, I couldn't agree more with you I love how they handled the cartoon sequence. Really, really enjoyed the introduction of the TVA. Once again, we don't see much of it. We got the courtroom sequence, we have the cartoon, and then we get to see Loki walking around with Agent Mobius, and we get to see the actual TVA and this world they live in. And that was very aesthetically pleasing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the big reveal of the actual city itself. It's almost like I think the TVA must exist out of time in some way or in its own reality.
And that's essentially what Mobius, Owen Wilson says, is that, time works a little different here. I don't know how long I've been here. Yeah. And he's got an intriguing backstory too. I'm interested to see more about him.
As Agent Mobius is really good. Yeah. I like him a lot. But, of course, I think we need to just discuss for a moment here. Yeah. Tom Hiddleston. Yeah. I mean, how great of an actor is this guy that not only has he played this character all the way through Ragnarok and Infinity War, and we've seen that character arc, but he's able to go snap right back to where he was in 2012 when Avengers came out, and he doesn't miss a beat.
He does, but he doesn't. You're right, but he does look a little old.
He looks much different.
A little older.
Looks different, but I mean, the personality, the tone of his voice, the way he talks, and everything is just like spot on. Like he picked up that character right where he left off in 2012.
And that's extremely impressive.
It's so impressive to me. And is there any big standout moments that I forgot here in the first episode?
I mean, I think it's excellent. I love what they do with the collar on him.
That is a great little callback there with the, it starts off with the collar and then he figures out how to use it against his enemies, and
that whole sequence at the end where I you know what, actually I do. Big standout moment is when he sees that drawer of the Infinity Stones and he has that moment of revelation. Are you the most powerful beings in the world?
Yeah, is this the real greatest power in the universe?
That's exactly the line. That was I thought that was a big standout moment, and because that's a big aha moment for all of us. It almost takes you aback to see all the Infinity Stones there when he's asking for the Tesseract and they open up the drawer. And it takes you a minute. Are those Infinity Stones? Like, geez,
And it kind of is a big moment for the MCU as a whole. I felt like this episode, I think one of the reasons you gave it a 10 out of 10 is because it feels like it's changing what we know of as the MCU. And the Infinity Stones are no longer important.
Finally, because that was my problem so far going into these first two shows, is it's just more of the same. And this is finally giving us something different away from the Infinity Saga. Yes, WandaVision was different in its structure, but it was still focused around Vision, who's essentially an Infinity Stone.
Yeah, and in this one, they're saying, no, they're paperweights. Forget about those Infinity Stones.
Exactly.
Here's the Timekeepers. Here's the TVA. Here's Multiverse. This is the new MCU.
Yes, and I'm all in. Yeah, I'm excited. Finally, because I was watching after the first two, and then we just saw the trailer for Eternals when we went and saw Cruella, and I was just like, or Eternals and Seven Rings. Shang-Chi. Yeah. And I was just like, I don't know where they're going with this, but I'm finally back in and bought in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we learn at the end that they're enlisting Owen Wilson's character, Agent Mobius, enlisting Loki to hunt down himself.
Yes.
As a variant on the loose, causing mischief, which is what Loki does.
Loki does, exactly, yeah.
And that picks us up in episode 2 here, Ryan. And I think that, once again, the direction here, the way that the showrunner is creating this show here is doing really well, because we open with a misdirect. We open and we see a Renaissance. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, are we going that far back in time? Then it says 1985.
Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Yeah.
I love that. It's saying that, this show isn't just about the God of Mischief. The show itself is mischievous. Yeah. And that was a big, put a big smile on my face.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And I didn't think of it that way, that the show is being mischievous. Yeah. But I love that interpretation of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, we see the variant Loki steal our, I forget what those things are.
Reset charges.
Yeah. And we see by the end of the episode why. And should we just go into the big twist, or is there anything else?
Like I said, I felt like the middle of this episode was very slow, and I'm perfectly okay with going into the twist in the end of this episode.
So they figure out that the Loki variant is hiding in an apocalypse event, right?
And they're able to discover which apocalypse, because he leaves a candy wrapper.
And we go to actually our future, 2050 in Alabama. Yeah. And I thought it was really cool. First big Easter egg. I'm not sure if you picked up on it, Ryan. Big corporation in the Marvel comics, Roxxon.
Okay, didn't know.
And what was it? Rock's Cart or Rock's
Rock's Cart, I think.
Yeah, Rock's Cart.
Yeah,
that's the
which
shopping
is this
center.
giant shopping center that has a hurricane shelter that they're trying to huddle everyone in for the hurricane. Obviously, there's an apocalypse. Everyone in this area of Hidden Hills, Alabama, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, is going to die, which is why our Loki variant is hiding out there.
Yeah, and for those of you that have played the, I think you've heard of it, right, Ryan? The Spider-Man PS5 game. Miles Morales is in that one from Spider-Verse, and he has his own game on PS5, and the corporation he faces against is Roxxon. So it's very intertwined with Marvel, and I don't know if it's going to be a big player, but I like that little Easter egg they get there.
Right.
And then, of course, we get to see some powers being used by both our variant of Loki. He cleans his clothes.
Yeah, dries off his clothes.
And I like how they explained magic a little bit, because I did need a refresher. How he explains before they leave. He says, what image duplication is versus what he said is like changing each molecule, which was like, okay, so it is like scientific, but it's also magic. And I like how Loki even knew that. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. But then we get to see the real deal, right? And we get to see some mind control, what is it, like you putting your consciousness?
I don't know if it's mind control as much as, just a consciousness in a different body. Yeah. Loki, our variant Loki, not our Loki that we know, is going from body to body, as a misdirect. And it's really impressive too, because these are all different actors portraying Loki, and doing a great job as far as I'm concerned. Whether it's the agent he's with, or Randy who works at Rock's Cart, or our big local boy from Alabama. I think,
and a good little fight sequence there too.
Yeah, I think they all do an excellent job though, for sure.
But our big reveal is we're going to be getting a female version of Loki. Ryan, what's your takeaway with this?
I'm excited to see it. I liked how they explained that not everyone on a timeline is the same person, shape, or form, and they're scrolling through all the different versions of Loki. And I like this. I like this rendition of Loki, and I'm excited to see where they go. The Easter egg that you caught on, though, that you said you saw this, not so much an Easter egg as much as foreshadowing that you saw coming. I'll let you call to that.
Oh, yeah. So in the first episode, when we see Loki's case file, I think it's Agent Morbius has it, and he's looking through it, and they show a close-up there. And under Loki's gender, they say fluid, which was kind of my first hint as to these Loki variants can not only look different, but be of a different gender as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that. And then, of course, they showed the hologram of Troll Loki.
Right. Love that.
And all the other different Loki variants. So that was pretty cool. But I guess in the comics, if you want to read back into the comics a little bit, Lady Loki is definitely a member of the comics. So I was very not like I guessed it right away, but I had a strong feeling that they were going to do something like this. And it's totally different from what it was in the comics. In the comics, Lady Loki is kind of like the way they demonstrated in the Rock's Cart. Loki puts his consciousness into a woman because his old body is dying.
Got it.
And he becomes Lady Loki in the comics, and that's the whole storyline there. So they're definitely taking a little bit of a different spin here, connecting it with the TVA, which also is part of the comics as well. But man, I really enjoyed this one.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about the end. She's finally, this Lady Loki, if you will, drops all these reset charges into different times in the world and is now creating a true multiverse. What the timekeepers have created, this what do they call it? The uniform time, the sacred timeline to sort of counteract. And this is Loki at Loki's finest, creating mischief.
Absolutely. And I think this is what's going to be creating our multiverse of madness.
Yes.
And it's really exciting to see, because not only, the promise of this show, what it can accomplish in this show, but it's going to splinter into the following movies, including the entire universe of the MCU. Because I don't know if you noticed, Ryan, I had to go back and pause it. But like when they're on their TV screens, they see the splinters coming out of the sacred timeline. If you pause it, I did, and they show each splinter where it's at, and it said Earth, and it said Eon, which is Ego, which is Peter Quill's dad, and it said Hala, which is where Captain Marvel started, and it said all these other familiar planets, Asgard, all these other things. All these planets we've seen in the MCU are going to be changed.
And I think it can definitely, I love what they're doing with this. We've alluded to it before. What you said is coming in the next Spider-Man film. That we're going to get an understanding now on maybe how they're going to tie in. We said maybe Andrew Garfield's character as Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So maybe that's what we're going with this idea of different timelines. It explains why there are different, renditions of superheroes in different films.
If you think about it, Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah. How do they get home to their correct timeline?
Right.
Yeah. There you go. I think that's what they're going for here, and I'm all in for it. Now, final thought here. I just want to pick your brain, and as far as this goes, is the Timekeepers and the TVA a sham? And that's kind of my biggest question walking into here, because I'm not sure if the agents and stuff, how they don't remember like how long they've been there. They don't know. They only exist apparently in this. Right. Is it like a thing where their minds have been erased, like in WandaVision?
You're saying? I am curious to see that. I possibly, but I don't know that it's a sham per se. Okay. I think maybe they're all variants, like Loki.
Good point.
That's sort of where I'm going with it.
I think you're right.
And I'm curious where we're going with the jet ski. That's what leads me to believe it. I'm curious that maybe Owen Wilson, Agent Mobius, has a background that we don't know, and
maybe that he doesn't even know.
But he's got hints of it, like the jet ski. So maybe we'll get more of an understanding to that.
And are the Timekeepers really who they say they are?
Right.
Yeah. And that's the big question. I don't know. And I think maybe Lady Loki does know. And I think that's kind of the mysteriousness behind her character.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited for next week's episode.
Yeah, same. So I think overall, though, we're very pleased with Loki and excited to see where it goes and where the MCU is going. At least I know, Dom, you're pretty much on the MCU train. Very excited. Yes. I was falling off a little bit. I'm back full speed ahead. So awesome. Really excited about that.
Excellent. Yeah. So next week we'll be doing a virtual episode because I'll be on vacation and Ryan, you'll be on vacation. So we'll get you guys back to the old style of Top of the List, a little Zoom convo next Wednesday, and we'll pick it up there with episode 3. As far as other episodes go, we're just going to be going by week in this TV show, and we'll try to find some movies we want to talk about, especially.
We've got Black Widow coming out soon, but of course, I'm very excited tonight. I'm going to see In the Heights. No, it's on HBO Max, but not missing that one in the theaters on the big screen. So In the Heights. We got Black Widow coming next week or the following, July 9th.
July 9th.
We may do a review of Luca, which is coming out pretty soon as well. The new Disney Pixar film. Very excited about that. What else am I missing? I know we've got a lot of great films coming. There's Hitman's Wife, Bodyguard. Maybe I know you haven't seen the original, so maybe we'll do a 2-parter.
We like both of those films.
Because I'm a huge fan of the original, and come on, it's Sam Jack and Ryan Reynolds.
I love those guys.
It's and you got to give credit to. God, why am I blanking on her name? Selma Hayek. Selma Hayek, who's excellent in it. So, excellent in the first one. In the second one, it's going to be more of her story. It's the hitman's wife. Yeah. All right.
Excellent. So we got some stuff coming up for you guys, but most immediately, episode 3 of Loki coming at you next Wednesday. We'll see you guys then. Have a great rest of your week. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of our videos. We're also on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts if you want to listen to the audio-only version. With that said, Ryan, you want to take us out?
Yeah. So thanks guys for watching another episode of Top of the List. We'll see you next week. Later.